Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop and another Sunday video. So following on from last week's video on hollows and rounds and the video on Thursday on grain direction, I had another comment in last week's hollows and rounds video, which was how do they cope with hardwoods? And my response to the person who made the comment was they're actually okay in temperate hardwoods like oak. In the African hardwoods, I'm not so keen personally. So what we've got, we'll do a few demos on. We've got a piece of sapele here. This was an offcut. I was given this offcut. And you made a mighty long time. It was machine planed because you could still see the ripple in it. Whether it ever got finished properly, I don't know. I think these came from my uncle. So I've planed all of them, just two edges and a face. And you'll see in a minute, I'll insert some footage of planing this edge here, because we've got classics of beading toes and grain. So I'm just dressing a piece of this red hardwood, which I think is Sapele. It's an offcut that came to me, I was given, but we're looking at here. This edge is lovely and smooth. This isn't bad. I've planed it with this Clifton 5.5. Then we flip it onto this side and get a bit closer. You can see I planed it in this direction. I've got a lovely smooth edge here, and then we've got half the board. It's a complete tear out. So I've planed it in this direction. I'm going to try it the other way now. Okay, so we'll set it up and plane it the other way. And we'll see what result that gets us. So this board highlights perfectly what I was saying about grain direction with things like Sapele and things like that. Now, this is the strip that we had that was all teared out. You see we've got much less tear out going the other way on the other board, on the other half of the board. There is still tear out there, and half the board is beautifully smooth. So it's not always the case you can just spin a piece of timber and make it good. I've also got, so I'm going to use this piece of steel that I've already got benched up in a minute. I've also got a piece of oak, as I said, and again, I haven't dressed the back. Okay. Edge, you can see here, it's not perfect grain, not perfect board, and I haven't rigged this at all. I don't want to make it look like oak is better than steel because I've used a perfectly dead straight piece of green oak. I haven't. I've used this is seasoned oak, European oak, and we've got a bit of grain. So this grain is curved there, curved there. So on to the demo. I'm going to take the beading plane to start with. That is the same beading plane I was using in the video. I haven't sharpened it. That is literally it. That's how it was in the video last weekend, and it still is now. So, as you can see, there was a knot there. It has gone through and it has formed a bead. It's not the prettiest of beads. There's a bit of reversing grain here around this knot, and there's a little bit on the inside of the bead. The outer edge of the bead is fine. This is the problem with Sapele, is this reversing grain. They will work. They do work. You can use moulding planes in like this. However, I'm not a big fan. Let's just see if we can get a better edge. Yep. I'm not a massive fan of hand planing timbers like Sapele, African walnut, that sort of thing. They're just not the nicest of timbers. Obviously, I'm just using the strictest guide because I don't want to have to mess about too much for a quick demo. There are better ways of doing this. Again, I haven't touched these planes. I haven't sharpened them from last week's video. Mainly because I don't see the need to sharpen them. Then that highlights quite plainly. Same planes, same methods, and working hard with moulding planes. Do not let it put you off. Yeah, you get a bit more tear out. Yeah, okay. But look at the finish on that. See the light glowing on it already. Do not let it put you off. Just because, you know, if you're in Australia, for example, don't be put off trying to use hand planes because it will work. Sapele is not my favourite at all and never will be. Make that clear. Sapele will never be my favourite timber. Not something I like working with. But it can be done. Yes, I've got a bit of tear out here. We're always going to get that, particularly with these plastic hardwoods. However, a scrape with a cabinet scraper will take that away. So let's try this piece of gnarly oak now. And as I said, less than ideal grain in this. Curving out there, there would have been a knot here somewhere. The board it was sawn from, and again, this is where it's been sawn. So I'll put the curved side to the back for a second. Until we see what we've really got. How well set this bead plane is. Again, we've got a bit of reversing grain just here. Not pretty. It's not pretty at that end. Bearing in mind this is seasoned oak. And it's not seasoned green oak. Green oak is not a species. The species is European oak, Quercus robur. Green refers to a state of moisture content. So it's green, it's flexible, it's freshly sawn. Well, you'll notice I've just reversed that. Not just at that end. You didn't very nice. Let's see what that looks like now. It's worked quite well. I'm going to try it this way now. Let's see what we can produce. This time we'll get the on it. I need to re-secure that because for whatever reason the screw is not just quite good. That board which I don't think's helping matters. Run that down slightly narrower around. I'm literally just playing here. But again, see the grain isn't perfect in this, so the only little bit of tear out we've got is just there. Everything else is pretty smooth. And that's the difference between oak and sapele. Oak will always get you a much clearer and nicer result. Okay. Right, so let's look at this horrible sapele board now. I'm not going to do a lot with this. Fair warning, I'm not going to do a lot because I don't know how nice this board's going to be. grain just changes just there. There you go. It is perfectly possible to work Sapele with hand plane. There's the proof. Hardwoods, no problem. Okay. And this is the point I'm trying to make with all these videos, is that, you know, the woodworking media is very guilty of making us believe, particularly tool manufacturers, making us believe we need this, we need that, we need the other. And to the point it becomes almost urban myth that you can't work hardwoods with moulding planes. You can't work, you know, you can't finish Sapele with hand planes. And okay, or if you do finish Sapele with a hand plane, you need a super duper, you know, astronomically angled, referenced off 7 planets plane. Well, you don't. And the thing is, it's not as easy with any of the red hardwoods to produce as good a result as you perhaps get with, you know, larch and things like that. You know, especially the closer grained softwoods that I use a lot of. However, it's also yes, it's slightly more tricky. It's also not impossible. And sharp tools are one of the key elements, and just practice. And that's all I can say. You know, and as I was saying in the grain direction video, it's not something I can teach you in videos. I can give you pointers, I can give you tips. But unless I have that individual piece of timber in my hand in front of me, it is very difficult for me to say your problem is X, Y, and Z. And this is, I hope this is the ethos of all my videos, is to just keep trying, keep practicing, keep tweaking, keep trying different things. You know, working timber by machine and by hand is very much a trial and error thing, because you can put a piece of timber like this into a spindle moulder, and you could quite easily, or even into a machine plane, and you can quite easily come out to this surface of this board that I've hand planed, that Clifton number 5 is smooth. Because if you get a little bit of tear out in the reversing grain, but it is smooth. Whereas through plane fixes it, you can see the ripples. That's where it's fine. So they're tricky, and they are tricky timbers, whether you're working by hand or by machine. But the most important thing is that you keep doing, you keep trying, you keep practicing, you keep making mouldings that are, or you keep working timber, because working timber is the only way you're going to learn to work timber. You know, you need to make these mistakes to work out that actually it doesn't work. Or what about if we tweak this? What about if we tweak that? And that's something that only experience can get you. I was lucky enough, I grew up with a carpenter joined a father who encouraged me to fiddle with timber from a very young age. You know, be that just a school project with a couple of sticks, or be that you know, much more detailed projects, especially once I got up into secondary school. And he was over the moon that I got a place at the secondary school I got a place at, because he was impressed by the design, technology, woodwork, metalwork, plastic as it was at the time, resistant materials workshops that the school had, and by the woodwork teacher who was probably 10 years older than my dad, but a similar teaching, similar way of learning, similar craft skills. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and it does mean a lot that everybody watches the videos like they do. If you could all like the video as much as possible, and make sure you subscribe and the notifications are on so you get the notifications of my new videos. I'm going to continue for a couple more weeks and try with 3 videos a week, but it's not easy, guys. It really isn't easy. A video like this can take 3 or 4 hours by the time it's edited. 45-minute video takes me about 4.5, 5 hours to produce by the time everything's set up and done. But I will continue for now for a bit longer and see how we get on. But constraints are getting such that I'm going to have to think about that. Or certainly the 2 videos in the week are going to have to be a lot shorter either which way. Again, if there's anything anybody wants to see, drop it in the comments below, because I will do my best to get to them. I have still got a stack of videos to make from previous comments. Again, some of them need I need other people to help me with those videos. I will get onto that in the coming weeks, and hence I did the ground direction, I did the hollows and rounds, and I did today's video just to answer some of the questions that were popping up in the comments. I will do vastly more on hollows and rounds in the future. I've hopefully got a cameraman lined up to come and help me make that video, and a couple of others. Just getting it so the 2 schedules align isn't easy. But I'm going to do my best to get a really detailed hollows and rounds video out, by which we make a moulding with the moulding plane and then we match it with hollows and rounds, because I think that's an important thing to see. And yeah, as I said in the hollows and rounds video, I'm not totally convinced that they were used as much as other planes, but anyway. So thank you all so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.